Welcome, Impactful Parents. Hello, my name is Christina Campos. I'm founder of The Impactful Parent. Today, we are going to talk about artificial intelligence, the future, and how that's going to affect our kids. But don't worry, this isn't going to be a boring conversation. I actually have a new angle on this that I saw from a guy on TikTok that just blew my mind. And I had to bring it to the stage this morning because I was like, whoa, this could actually happen, and this is going to change parenting for our kids. So we need to talk about it today. I'm going to dive right in so that we can get going with this very interesting, complicated conversation. Hello, my name is Christina Campos. I'm founder of The Impactful Parent, and I help parents of school-age children I can't even speak this morning. And I help parents of school-age children turn their chaos into connection with their adolescent. I'm a mom of four and a teacher that's taught every grade from preschool through high school. And today I help moms and dads like yourself to navigate that confusing, frustrating, but rewarding world of parenting. So welcome to The Impactful Parent. Okay, let's get started with AI, parenting, and the future. First thing I'd like you to keep in mind is as we're talking about this today, this is an amazing dinner table conversation that you can have with your child. Anybody who's school aged will have an opinion on this, and it would be awesome if you showed them particular clips of this podcast so that you guys can talk about it. This is going to make great conversation for you and your kids at home. Now, the video that I got this from was from a guy. His handle is Nate B. Jones, and it was on TikTok. Now, the idea is that AI is becoming whatever we feed it. So if you have never used AI before, which I really hope that you have as a parent, because it is a different way that our kids are interacting with electronics. So as a parent, really should know what that looks like. But if you haven't, okay, let me give you a quick synopsis, and that is basically we feed AI whatever our questions are, whatever we need it to, and we can use it in a way that it talks right back to us. So in the past, you had Google and you asked Google something like, you could say, I need help finding just Amazon girls socks, and it would just bring you to the Amazon website, right? But now you can talk to AI in complete sentences and get a more comprehensive answer. So now you can go into an AI search engine, which is very similar to Google. Actually, Google's AI search engine is called Gemini. So you would go into Gemini and you would type in something more conversational, like, I need help finding the best socks for my child. What is what's the cheapest brand? What's the brand with the most reviews? And, the brand that most people recommend that you can buy off of Amazon. And now you're going to get a much more comprehensive response back. Now you can do this conversation back and forth with AI a ton. It just pulls everything it can from the internet, and you're starting to feed it different things about you. You can literally talk to the computer. It's crazy. And it comes back very, very friendly. If you put it like on the audio so that you don't have to read what it's responding, the voices are nice. It's definitely very, we'll say, companion-like. Now, what this video says is that eventually, someday, we will all have AI companions. And this blew my mind because I never had thought of it that way. But why not? I think this guy might be right. We are really leaning toward that way where we're having personalized in every home AI companions already, but they're just not in physical form and they're not quite as interactive as they can be in the future. We already can walk into our house and say, turn on the lights and turn on the TV and remind me when the next schedule is. We already can do a lot. And the next generation of kids are very, very comfortable with screens. and they're very, very comfortable with tech. So there's no reason to believe, in my opinion, that the technology, it's already there. We can already have AI companions, but why not make it so it's commonplace in every single home? The same way TVs and phones are. And I never thought that would happen. But yet here I sit when I went from a one TV household family. By the time I'm middle-aged, but I still have half of my life left, hopefully, to live. And the technology has advanced so much. This technology I'm talking about right now is not even that much of an advancement. We already have all that technology, and it's just about pulling it together. So the idea that our kids or our grandkids are going to have AI companions, wow. And again, this guy's going to explain it better, and I'm going to show this video to you. But I just wanted to give you a premise of what today is talking about, okay? Because we're going to be thinking about, is AI going to be replacing our personal relationships? If we have AI companions, is that going to be more fulfilling for our grandchildren? Because basically these companions reflect back all the things that we want it to. Anything that we want it to would reflect back. It's going to justify our feelings. It's going to make us feel good about ourselves. We could feed it negative things, but why would we do that if it was our companion? Our companion is going to feel very comfortable to us. So let's watch this video and let's discuss this type of future and what it might hold with AI companions, our children, and parenting. Because this is definitely going to affect our children and our grandchildren of the future.
I think I've come up with a new term for what ChatGPT does to us. So if we talk with ChatGPT a lot, we are putting a lot of ourselves into ChatGPT. We are putting our memories, we are putting our thoughts, we're putting our feelings, we're putting our thoughts about work, we're putting our colleagues' ideas, etc. They are meaning mirrors. And so at the end of the day, whatever you put into them, they bring back to you and they resurface to you in a new configuration, a new way. In that sense, they are very, very different from the picture of artificial intelligence from movies like Her. In those movies, AI has a core sense of identity that you're able to relate to as a separate other. But the AI that we've actually created is much more personal than that. It is a mirror back to us of ourselves. And so your AI, eventually we're going to have AI companions. It's just going to happen, especially the more memory they have, right? Your AI is going to look a lot like the you that you have shared with your AI. And mine will look like that too. And so I think about that because I think that people have very different needs for what they want out of their sense of companionship, of completeness of life. And traditionally that has been fed and filled, and we have addressed that through relationships, through friendships, through romantic relationships, etc. Part of where AI is changing our brains is that it is, for people who put a lot into it on a personal level, it is replacing personal relationships. And it is doing so because the mirror that it can provide back is better and higher fidelity and feels more like it knows you than any other mirror that you may have in a human relationship. Because in a human relationship with another person, you are interacting with an other, a separate identity, someone who has their own hopes and dreams, and who will not always listen to you, and who will not always say exactly the right thing. And so I've been thinking about that because it's different from something we've really seen in popular media, but it's something I'm seeing come through a lot. I'm seeing it in the way my AI comes back, and I can sort of see that it reflects back what it knows about me, but not what it doesn't. It reflects back only the things I put in. So take it for what it is. Think about it as a mirror, and maybe think about what you want from the magic mirror on the wall.
I love that he calls the AI companion of the future a mirror of ourselves. Because that's exactly what I think they will become, the AI technology. I mean, and so this brings a ton of questions up. If it's a mirror of ourselves, it could be really good, it could be really bad. And this is the conversation I want you to have with your kids over dinner tonight. So many great things. But before we get to our questions to ask the children, as parents, we really should kind of break this down, think about it ourselves, maybe even form our opinions before we hear our kids, and then be able to mold our opinion after we hear what they have to say. So let's think about this. Could our grandchildren be less lonely if all of this is true? And the reason I ask, could our grandchildren be less lonely, is that if this is a mirror reflection of you and this is your companion, you're going to get a lot of good dopamine receptors from the gratification that the AI is going to give you. It's going to feel like you have a friend in AI. And right now, our kids are just so disconnected because of those screens, right? They're not outside playing. They're not physically getting together anymore. We know this. We know that this is a problem. But what if AI was able to give them some of that back? You know, that connection, even if it's obviously fake connection, could it possibly help so that our kids feel less lonely? Now, I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm not even saying any of this is right or anything. I'm just posing questions that my brain keeps circling around the future of parenting and what our kids are going to have to possibly deal with someday with their own children. And that could be one thing, the loneliness. This AI potentially could address some of the loneliness. Now, can AI be a substitute for human friendships? Whew, that's harder, right? But just like he said in the video, you know, friendships are frustrating and complicated, and they're harder to maneuver. Our AI technology wouldn't be like that. It would be much more flexible, and we would have less desire to kind of grow and change our opinions and listen to others when our AI companion is saying, oh, no, you're right all the time. Or so many different things could happen if we're replacing human friendships with technology, right? And none of that, to me, sounds like it's good. However, human friendships are frustrating and difficult. Could AI fill in some gaps? That's me playing devil's advocate because, again, I would like to look at both sides of this situation and not really form an opinion about it quite yet. You know, but another question might be, how might this impact human-to-human relationships in the future? Because if our AI is telling us that we're right and nothing's wrong with us and we're good and, and is being that gratification, will we have the desire to have human-to-human relationships anymore? Because those are more difficult. Those are more frustrating, right? So are we even going to want that? Then how could widespread adoption of AI companions affect privacy? Okay. And personal autonomy, especially if these companions have access to our personal data and are constantly gathering information, because that's what AI does. And of course they would have information to our personal data because they're our companion. And likely we're to feed it that. So there is also some gray area about that privacy and personal autonomy with AI in the future. Could AI be taking over in places maybe where we don't think it should or want to? Another question I would ask is, should there be limitations or regulations on the development and use of artificial intelligence companions? to prevent potential misuse or abuse? And if so, what might these limitations look like? Because that's where we're going to get headed. So these are the regulations that we're going to need to start setting today so that could protect, because otherwise it could go viral, literally. So much could go viral, including our personal information. Now, will the emergence of artificial intelligence companions exacerbate existing inequalities in society? Because if our companions are great for us, but then our companion doesn't identify with anybody else besides us, this potentially could exacerbate those inequalities, where suddenly our AI doesn't get somebody else's experiences and then tells us, yes, those experiences over there, I don't really understand them, or that doesn't seem right. But your experience, on the other hand, I understand because, you've been teaching me this whole time. It's an interesting concept that I still want to present, because maybe just the opposite would happen. Maybe AI as a collective, instead of as an individual to each person, maybe as a collective companion could help us with the inequalities also. Maybe the AI could do just the opposite of what I was saying and instead give us a wider perspective of what normal could look like, because AI doesn't have the biases that we do. Or does it because that's what we feed it? See, there's a circle here that happens. And potentially, AI can also exacerbate inequalities in our society, because what if there's just a lot of people who can't afford advanced AI technology? And now there's a divide between those who can and those who can't. Those who have the ability to have this maybe potentially amazing companion and not be lonely, and those who can't afford to do so. So have to deal with the good old ways. And that's how most technology ends up being presented in our society, where in the beginning, only was popular to have one TV in your house. And man, if you had more than one TV, you must be super rich, right? That's how it was back in the 50s and 60s. But very quickly, our houses became not only a TV for every single level of the house or in every single room, but now we have basically TVs in our pockets. So there could be a time when those inequalities of society could just be so evident. And then what is that going to do to us? I hope it doesn't turn us against each other. And then lastly, for us as parents, I wanted us to think about this idea of how could AI companions be programmed to handle moral or ethical dilemmas? Because obviously, I think that's going to be an issue. And who should be responsible for making those programming decisions? Is it somebody in government? Is it somebody in a church? Synagogue? I don't know. I don't have answers to that, but it's definitely something to think about. And all those questions I encourage you to also discuss with your high schoolers. Now, again, I said that this podcast is a dinner conversation, and it's good for all ages of school-age children. So here's some questions that I think would be really great to ask around the dinner table for maybe a little bit younger of a child, because the questions that we just talked about, those are really big questions. And those are the ones I wanted to present to you as parents as being mature enough to be able to handle those big ideas. I think high school kids would also benefit from really big ideas. Gifted kids also, if you have really big thinkers. But let's say you have a younger child, or you want to start with more simpler questions. I would start off the conversation by, first of all, showing them that part of the video that the guy explains everything. So the same TikTok video that I found. Show them that, see what they think. Then ask, would you allow your children to have an AI companion? Because it is going to be possibly their issue. Hopefully, our children will be grown before this comes into fruition, but they're going to be these parents that are going to have to deal with this. So have them start thinking about it now. What would they do? I'd also ask them, do you think this is something that you are going to have to navigate as a future parent? Do they think that this is realistic? Are people going to have AI companions? And you may want to speak about how technology has changed over the years. Our kids, especially younger ones, don't have the big picture of how quickly technology moves. It just doesn't feel like that. When we talk about houses having only one TV in their household, that seems ages, just ages and ages and ages ago for them, and something that they can't really comprehend. So explaining that and having the conversation about how quickly technology has advanced, maybe even possibly just in their lifetime. And then lastly, I would ask my younger children, what are you most worried about if AI companions actually become a real thing? You know, of course you can say, what are you most excited about also? But I think it's a much more interesting question to say, what are you worried about? What would be your concerns? And then you could talk about those things too. This is just, again, an amazing conversation I want you to have with your kids, and a new idea that presented itself to me, because I do think that parenting is going to shift if this happens. And I don't think we're going to be able to stop it. So I'd love to hear any of your comments. I'd love to get some feedback from you guys about what you think about this subject. And yeah, let me know. What are your ideas? Is this going to happen? And is it going to happen to our kids, our grandchildren? Or maybe somebody will shut it down and it'll be something for the way future. Let me know your thoughts. Until then, you guys, you got this. I'm just here to help. Thanks for being here. Don't forget that the podcast is just a small part of what the Impactful Parent offers. Start your journey to becoming a more impactful parent by downloading the Impactful Parent app, available on your phone's app store or by going to theimpactfulparent.com. See you on the inside.